Imagine you are Samantha, the Omega of Riverside pack. Despite your position, you remain humble, positive, and an active member of the pack. After helping Marcus, the new alpha of the Genesis pack, he develops feelings for you and insists on making you his mate. However, a rival female wolf from the Genesis pack, fueled by jealousy, poisons you in a bid to claim Marcus for herself. To save your life, Marcus accompanies you on a perilous journey to find a cure. As you navigate the dangers together, you begin to understand Marcus and eventually fall deeply in love with him. But can your love overcome the scorn and malice of the jealous she-wolf, who will stop at nothing to destroy your relationship? Besties, listen to the story of Samantha.
Samantha's POV. I loved watching the stream flow. Being part of nature kept me at ease. I sat on a rock, just staring at it for hours. I saw it on a rock while admiring its beauty. I believe taking time to enjoy nature is necessary for a proper werewolf, not like I was one after all. Hey, Samantha. Stop playing around and catch some fish already. An Omega should be able to do that at least. A loud, unruly voice brought me back to reality. It belonged to my elder brother Gregory, the soon-to-be alpha of our pack. Here in the luscious fields of Toronto, we, the Riverside pack, were the werewolves reigning in the area. My father, Logan Frisk, is the alpha of the pack. He's well respected by the werewolves in the country, and this is what gives my brother such a big head. I take off my top, revealing a black one-piece swimsuit. Next to me was a large net that I threw into the river, causing a large splash of water. My brother and his friends laughed at me as the salt water hit my face. I didn't flinch though. I might be the Omega of this pack, the weakest werewolf that can't fully transform, but I won't let that get to me. I used all my strength to move next to a sufficient spot enough to get in the way of a passing school of salmon. Heave! I shouted, lifting the net off the water, revealing a huge bounty of salmon to my brother. How's that for an Omega? I stuck out my tongue. Gregory hissed. You're 18 now. I wished you'd just get married and leave this pack already. He and his entourage left me and headed for Middletown, where we resided. It's not like I don't want to leave. Finding a guy with a tolerable attitude is the issue. I muttered to myself. That was my problem. Every guy I had ever encountered was a jerk, a jock, or just a complete idiot. I didn't need much. All I wanted was a caring guy, someone who thought with his heart and not with his muscles. I dragged the fishnet back to Middletown. Some of the she-wolves I had befriended helped me get them safely to the Abbot. As I walked along the street, I heard some people laughing at me, but I ignored them. I would never let them make me feel bad for something that was out of my control. My mother's final words to me before she died were to live strong and happy, and I intend to do that. That night, I told my father about the school of salmon I had caught, but he had some other news for me. Samantha, I want you to be on your best behavior. In the coming days, a new werewolf pack will be passing by our territory. The alpha will be seeking out a mate. I would be happy if that turns out to be you, he said. I rolled my eyes. Dad, it's not my behavior that matters, it's his. If he's a good match for me, then I'll accept him without hesitation. He sighed at me and dismissed me. I went to our house to rest for the night. It was a 3-story cream building with an elevator. My room was the smallest one in the building, but I didn't care much about that. The bed was comfortable, and I had a picture of my mother and me when I was 5 framed and hung on the wall. As I lay on my bed, I thought about my future with a mate. How would it change my life? For the better? Or for worse? I don't know. All I can do is face it with confidence. The next day, I ran into the woods again to avoid the bickering of my brother and father. They were having an argument about allowing other werewolves to cross our territory at all. My brother was against allowing them, while my father was all for it. He wanted to make peace with as many packs as possible. This made me fear for the future of our wolf pack. Those thoughts forced me towards the woods to clear my head. Whenever I was in nature, I just felt like I was free from the world's problems. I climbed up the biggest oak tree and stared at the wild hares running around. Maybe I'll catch a few for Dad. As I said that, I heard the sound of footprints. I climbed even higher to get a better view, and then I saw them. About 6 giant wolves rushed through the forest. They seemed to be led by a black wolf. He was the largest one. Wow! So pretty. I couldn't help but admire his fur. As an Omega, this form was something I would never achieve, but at least I could imagine how my wolf form couldn't have been, a beautiful dark brown wolf similar to my long brunette hair. These wolves weren't from my pack, but I couldn't smell danger from them either, so they were probably a neutral pack. They were hunting the hares I had seen originally. I then got down from the tree, intent on at least catching one. I run to the right at full speed and cut them off from the right, grabbing a hare by the ears and interrupting the hunt.
Hey!
What's the big idea?
The black wolf asked. Sorry, but you should have been faster.
I chuckled. One of the other wolves with a mixed fur color of white and black approaches me. You think this is a joke? Do you understand what stealing from an alpha entails?
Wait.
He's an alpha,
I said to myself, surprised.
I thought they were just a passing group. I didn't think an alpha was leading them.
I bowed my head in respect.
Calm down, Shiraz. I'm not angry. I'm impressed. Forgive my subordinate. I am Alpha Marcus LeBron of the Genesis Pack. May I know your name?
The black wolf asked me.
I couldn't believe it. An alpha addressed me in such a way that my heart nearly skipped a beat. I'm Samantha Frisk, the Omega of the Riverside Pack. As I said this, they were all shocked.
Stop lying.
There's no way an Omega was faster than us.
Shiraz shouted.
I snapped back. I'm not lying. Why would I lie about being a weak Omega anyway? Are you stupid? I quickly held my mouth. Maybe I do have some behavioral problem. Shiraz had it with me and was about to pounce, but Marcus' laughter stopped her.
Ha 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 ha.
You sure are a gutsy Omega. Lead us to the rest of your pack. I want to have a talk with your alpha. At this point, I no longer see Marcus and his pack as a threat.
I happily lead them to my father and the others.
Gregory refuses to meet up with the Genesis Pack.
But my father welcomes Marcus and the others with open arms.
Welcome to Middletown, home of the Riverside Pack.
Marcus and the others transform into their human forms.
Marcus was a handsome-looking man with short black hair and a freshly shaved beard.
He wore a black jacket on top of a white top with blue jeans.
Shiraz was a beautiful dark-skinned woman with braided white and black hair. She was wearing a white military uniform and the other werewolves wore something similar. Thank you for having us, Alpha Logan. Your town is quite beautiful.
Marcus bows his head.
I can assure you, the she-wolves are just as beautiful.
My father said with a smile.
I can believe that. I already have my eyes on one in particular. Your Omega. I'm considering making her my mate.
Marcus said.
As I heard these words, I nearly fainted. My father's jaw dropped while my brother showed himself. He ran out of the house only to shout what was on my mind.
What?
Never in my life did I think I would be found interesting by an alpha.
I wasn't that good looking. I was average.
The only thing I could say about myself that I liked was my attitude and my physical abilities, which gave me the confidence to confront normal werewolves even as a weak Omega. I pinched myself slightly, but I didn't wake up. This was not a dream. The Alpha of the Genesis Pack had declared his interest in me, in front of my father and the whole pack. My brother nearly broke down the door of the house after hearing that.
What? He shouted.
Marcus, Shiraz, and the others all turned towards him. Is there a problem? Is she supposed to be your mate?
Marcus asked calmly.
No. Hell no. That's my sister, but she's an Omega. She can't transform into a wolf. What could possibly be interesting about her?
Gregory asked.
Despite how insulting that was, he was right, and I wanted to hear Marcus's reason for his sudden infatuation.
Marcus cleared his throat and spoke.
Never have I seen such an audacious she-wolf, with no regard for her safety, charge at a pack of wolves and steal their prey. My father stared daggers at me, but I averted my eyes. This was so embarrassing. It made my heart skip a beat, and how she addressed me, not as an alpha but as a rival wolf, a mere Omega. Where did she get the audacity to do that? I want to learn more about her, where her strength comes from, that grace of hers. It's something I believe my pack will benefit from. Marcus finished, and I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me. Why'd he have to go and say stuff like that in front of my pack? Some of the Riverside wolves laughed and snickered while others, like my brother, were confused. Out of all the other she-wolves, you really want to settle for my Omega of a sister?
Gregory asked.
I'm not settling. I can feel it deep down, that your sister holds something I'm lacking, and with her by my side, I'll be complete.
Marcus smirked. Something is wrong with this guy. I whispered under my breath.
Hopefully, Shiraz didn't hear that.
My father sighed.
If that's truly how you feel, then you have my blessings. Samantha will travel with you tomorrow and become your mate. I felt a chill down my spine. I turned to see Shiraz staring at me with hatred in her eyes. I didn't know exactly how I felt about this. It all felt surreal to me. But regardless, There was no way I could say no. That was the rule for our pack. Once the Alpha makes a decision, there's no going back. That night, we had a banquet to celebrate my leaving the pack. My father had the she-wolves grill the finest meat and fish for Marcus and his pack mates. My brother was still confused about this whole ordeal, but at least he was no longer hiding from the Genesis pack.
Instead, he sat in a corner glaring at them while eating meat.
I was only able to eat a few pieces before I felt a knot in my stomach. Anxiety?
Fear?
I didn't know what it was exactly, but I'm sure it's connected to my engagement. I talked to some of my friends that night, and since this would probably be the last time we spoke with each other, we decided to have a sleepover in my room, where we discussed how strange and dreamlike the events of today seemed. The next day, in Middletown Square, it was finally time for me to leave my home.
I hugged my father tightly. He whispered in my ear to be safe and that he was proud of me.
I wish my mom was here to see this as well. I wipe away my tears before getting on Shiraz's back. My brother comes as well to say his goodbyes. Honestly, I didn't expect you to ever get a mate. I'm both surprised and worried. Take care, you Omega, Gregory said, turning away from me. I love you too, brother, I said with a smile. Despite our differences, I still cared for my blood brother deeply. Just take care of Dad when he retires, and don't do anything stupid when you become the Alpha. Shut up and leave already.
Gregory shouts at me while the other clan members laugh at his pouting face.
I was going to miss everyone. Despite how they treated me as an Omega, leaving one's home was never easy.
We started the journey toward Genesis Pack.
I didn't think Marcus and the others had traveled such a far distance, but they did. Finding a mate was no easy task. It was quite comfortable to be on Shirazi's back, but I couldn't help but feel her twitching through her fur. I got the feeling that she didn't like me at all. Maybe there was something I could do? If I was going to start a new life with the Genesis Pack, then I would like to start with no enemies. It took 2 days and a half, but we finally made it to Chesfield City, the territory of Genesis Pack. It was a lot wider than Middletown, and the buildings looked even sturdier, ranging from story buildings to flat bungalows. Welcome to Chesfield, Samantha, your new home,
Marcus said.
Wow. I said unconstitutional. I've never really traveled far from Middletown before, so all this was new to me. I got off Shiraz's back, and she wiggled her body around like she was trying to get rid of my scent. How rude of her. They all shifted back into humans and we entered through the large gate surrounding the city. The werewolves here were going around their business, but as soon as they saw Marcus, they all cheered. Long live the Alpha. Alpha Marcus has returned safely. We thank the Lunar Goddess.
Yay!
Cheers erupted from the crowd of about 30 werewolves.
That must be the new Luna. She's pretty. I wonder what her wolf form looks like.
I felt another knot in my stomach. Just how would they take an Omega as their Luna?
Marcus put his right hand on my shoulder and smiled at me.
Don't worry about it, Samantha. We'll tell them together. I felt somewhat reassured. Then from the back of my head, I felt an intense stare, not from the crowd, but from Shiraz once again. I tried to ignore it, but something told me that her attitude toward me might lead to trouble. Eventually, I'd have to tell Marcus, but for now, I had more important things to do. Like checking out my new house. It was a small bungalow with a guardhouse and a small barn for chickens at the back. Marcus and the others had to go meet with some other pack members for some reason, so I went to check it out by myself. The inside looked bigger than the outside as it had 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, 3 bathrooms, and a recreational basement. I placed my clothes in the wardrobe and touched my bed. It was even softer than my old one in Middletown. As I was about to get up and go to the living room, an old woman intercepted me by the door with a tray of delicious snacks ranging from cookies to chocolate. She wore a black maid outfit, and her gray hair was tied into a bun. Nice to meet you, Luna. I'm your personal chef, Muriel. I hope you enjoy my services, she said with a smile. I couldn't help but smile back. Well, Muriel, I'm Samantha, and I'm sure we'll get along just fine. I pick up a cookie and stuff it into my mouth. With no doubt in my mind, I'm going to make the most of this opportunity. Marcus finally declares me as his Luna in front of the Genesis Pack members and tells them that I'm an Omega. As expected, their reactions were mixed. Some didn't care that I was an Omega, and some hated that. However, it was just something I had to live with, but I would try my best to live up to their expectations and become a good Luna. I was then introduced to the Pack's beater, Charles Matthew. Charles was a dark-skinned man with curly black hair. He was taller than me, and I had to raise my head to look at his face. Nice to meet you, Samantha. I hear you're a fast runner despite just being an Omega, Charles said.
looking at my legs. Yeah, I guess you could say that, I said shyly.
You wouldn't mind a race now, would you? A nice morning race?
Charles asked.
Come on, Charles, at least give her some time to adjust to the environment, Marcus said with a worried expression. He stood between me and Charles like a wall.
I pushed him aside lightly.
I wouldn't mind a race, and I wouldn't mind you participating in it either.
Come and show your Luna just how fast you are. I teased him a little. Don't push it.
Marcus taps my nose with his index finger. Are you scared I'd embarrass you in front of your Luna?
Charles asked. Marcus snapped. Fine then, let's do this.
We head to the forest. It wasn't as broad as the one in Middletown, but it was far more stretched out, making it a perfect place for a race. The entire pack had gathered to watch the race. It was me against the strongest members of the pack. After all, I couldn't even imagine what was going through their minds. I think some believed I was crazy for even participating in the race. But still, I knew this was going to be fun. One of the elderly pack members watched over the race. It was going to be a 100-meter race to the edge of the forest.
Marcus and Charles shifted. Charles's werewolf form was the same size as Marcus's.
I thought his elongated height made his wolf form enormous, but I guess that's not how it works. The race started and I took my time and let the two males run at top speed. It was going to be a long race, so starting at full speed was a bad idea. As Marcus and Charles kept going neck and neck, I was behind them, gradually gaining speed. After about 50 meters I caught up to them and even passed them. The crowd yelled in surprise at this, but I was too focused. I was close to the edge now, but right as I was about to reach there, a large pinecone tree was slanting towards me.
Look out! Marcus tackled me to the ground before the tree flattened me. He shifted into his human form and I realized he was on top of me.
I couldn't help but feel his muscular body against mine. Despite the situation, it made me a little wet, not gonna lie. Marcus must have felt some as well because I know I felt something hard press against my thigh, but this wasn't the time nor place. He helped me up as Charles and the others caught up to us. Are you okay, Samantha?
He asked.
Yeah, thanks for the safe alpha, I said nervously. What could have happened?
Charles asked.
Someone cut down the tree. An attempt at Samantha's life, no doubt. Marcus said and tightened his fist. I've only been here a few days, and I already have a target on my back. I rolled my eyes, and then suddenly, Shiraz joined the crowd. Where had she been all this time? The race ended without a clear winner, but at least the pack members saw I wasn't just a weak Omega.
I could pull my own when I needed to. Marcus asked around the pack, but no one knew anyone who could cut down a tree so fast and had a grudge against me.
That evening, Marcus ordered me to come to his house. It was a 2-story building with cow skull decorations by the door. It looked classy in a sort of way. I entered the house, and it seemed normal enough. There was a bookshelf with some interesting titles, some I didn't expect a man to read, mostly romance and the like. There were about 5 rooms here, but I figured the biggest one belonged to him. As I entered it, I saw him sitting on the side of his bed. Samantha, glad you could come. As my father always said, disobeying the alpha is a definite no. I said and went over to sit with him. I could already tell that the scented candles and the low-volume music were the reason he called me here. Today was a little tough, wasn't it? He asked me. I chuckled a bit. I guess you could say that. It's not every day someone almost gets crushed by a tree. Marcus moved a bit closer to me. I hope that doesn't discourage you from staying here. No, it's fine. At least I'm alive. And besides, I'm starting to like it here. I attempt to hold his hand. He allows it, and we both stare into each other's eyes. His eyes were a beautiful shade of blue. I never really got a chance to appreciate just how handsome Marcus was. He used his right hand to shift my hair to the side, and he then kissed me softly. It was my first kiss, and one I'll ever forget. He gently laid me on the bed. This was my first time. I was inexperienced, so I was just going to let him take the lead. Are you okay with this? Marcus asked. Of course, I'm your Luna after all. It would be strange if you didn't. I said, giving him my full consent. He then kissed me again. At first, it was painful, but gradually, it started to feel good. The hot passion of the night swept over both of us as we climaxed at the same time. It was amazing. I was no longer a virgin, but the experience was priceless. The next week, I tried encouraging the pack to be more efficient when it came to their duties, such as fishing, hunting, and so on. Strangely enough, seeing an Omega, a much weaker variant, doing so much, encouraged the others to do just as much work. Just as Marcus had said, I was beginning to have a positive effect on the Genesis pack. After a long jog, I decided to return home to eat some of Muriel's cooking. She had arranged potato porridge for me, and without hesitation, I dug in. It was her best meal yet, however, I felt like it had too much seasoning. After the meal, I felt a little tired and went to take a nap on my bed. However, as I woke up, I noticed something was wrong with my body. My skin became pale, my eyes were sunken, and worst of all, I had no enthusiasm. I tried to call for Muriel, but my voice was too faint. I managed to get out of my bedroom, but then my legs gave out. I hit the floor face first. I didn't even have the strength to stand back up. What had happened?
I was normal this morning. Could it be the porridge? Did Muriel poison me?
After I thought I had begun to make progress in this city with the pack, after feeling loved by Marcus, all that was about to vanish before my eyes. Life is cruel. All I could think about now was what could have been. My consciousness faded, and I was left alone on the cold floor. I was alive? That was the first thought in my mind as I woke up to see myself on a sickbed surrounded by Marcus and the others.
Thank the moon goddess she's alive, Marcus said as he held my hand.
The doctor next to him checked my pulse and my eye color. I'm afraid she was poisoned by wolfsbane. If we don't get her cure in the next 3 days, she'll die. Everyone gasped. I tried to speak but Charles held me down. Where's the cure, Dr. Zane?
It can't be that hard to find.
It's a unique flower called morning grace, only found in a single area in the Dean Mountains. It's quite rare to come by. That's why I don't have any in stock right now. All right, then, if I may, my alpha, I'll go track down this flower.
Shiraz offered.
No. Marcus shouted and everyone stared at him. Samantha and I will track it down. It's apparent that someone in this pack wants my Luna dead. The only way I can keep her safe is by taking her with me and saving her with my own 2 hands.
Marcus declared.
This surprised me the most. In my mind, I was thinking maybe all this was a while. Maybe Marcus was going to use me as a sacrifice to some dark god. But that wasn't the case, was it? If not, he'd just let me die, but now he was actively trying to save my life. Shiraz looked utterly disappointed, but Marcus's rule was law. Not even the Beta could change his mind, not like he wanted to. Charles was confident that Marcus could handle himself. Muriel was being kept on house arrest because she was the primary suspect. Even though, I knew deep down a sweet old lady like her would never do such a thing. Dr. Zen then gave me some drugs to suppress the effects of the poison for some time. Marcus had left Charles in charge of the pack while he was gone. Shiraz wasn't happy with this decision and she went somewhere else in protest. Don't sweat it, Alpha. I'll hold down the fort for now. Just make sure you save our little damsel here. Charles pulls my cheek, and I slap his huge hand away.
Thank you.
Make sure Shiraz doesn't do anything stupid. You know how she gets when she's overly emotional. Marcus reminds him, and the dark-skinned man nods his head in agreement.
I'll do my best.
I hung my backpack as I climbed on top of Marcus' giant black wolf form. To us, werewolves, traveling on foot was a lot faster than a car or any other means of transportation. We started our journey, and I couldn't help but feel like all this stress I was putting Marcus through was my fault. I'm sorry, none of this would have happened if I didn't agree to be your Luna. It's not your fault. The culprit that tried to kill you is at fault. They should have come after me directly, but they'll pay for doing this to you,
Marcus said while growling.
But, why? Why would you go so far for someone like me? I'm an Omega. I have no special traits, and I'm weak. I said, tears falling down my cheeks. It was a sad thought, losing my life and stressing those around me. I couldn't bear it. I should have told you this before, but I was scared about how'd you react.
I was abandoned by my family.
I was quite weak when I was younger, but then I met an orphan boy. That's Charles. The 2 of us became quick friends and started recruiting werewolves with no packs and nowhere to live. Eventually, we met Shiraz, who had an issue with a large wolf pack. We helped her out and destroy the wolf pack with Shiraz's help, and she decided to join us. Altogether we formed the Genesis pack, a band of misfits.
Marcus said.
That would explain why your pack members seem so random, from their sizes to their ages. Hee hee.
I chuckled lightly before coughing.
Yeah, our strange family. But even though we were a pack, our unity wasn't on par with those of a normal pack. I was missing a Luna. Someone who could unite us as one. And that's when I met you. An Omega who didn't fear anything. She spoke her mind and challenged wolves twice her size. I just knew you were the last piece of the puzzle.
And that's why.
I love you, Samantha. And I can't let you die. So sit tight. We're almost at the mountainside. Hearing all this made me blush. The way he said he loved me so easily. Was that something I had the right to say back? I don't know. I just remained silently thinking about it as we continued towards Dean Mountain. We made it to the mountain. Marcus left me by the side to catch my breath. The poison had started to affect me again, limiting my mobility, so he decided to climb the mountain alone and retrieve the morning glory.
I sat on the grassy part next to a cliff.
I made sure to stand clear of it. One sharp move from there, and I'd be a goner. I was about to take some more drugs to assist with resisting the poison, but at that moment, a hand grabbed me from behind and pinned me down.
"I have you now, wench," the assailant said.
That voice. Shiraz.
I asked.
Of course it's me. Who were you expecting, Muriel?
She asked me in a sarcastic tone.
You framed her. You poisoned me.
I shouted angrily.
I also tried to flatten you with a tree, but you're one slippery rat. This time I'll make it look like you committed suicide, and then Marcus will be all mine.
Shiraz said happily.
You're doing this because of Marcus?
I asked.
Obviously. I've loved him ever since he saved my life from some low-life werewolf pack, but he never felt the same way. He treated me like a sister while I wanted to be his mate.
Shiraz shouted.
You can't force love, Shiraz. Just stop this so we can go home and forget any of this happened. Ah.
I scream as she drags me closer to the edge of the cliff.
I don't need your pity. All I need is your death. As she was about to throw me off, she stopped in her tracks immediately. Shiraz.
It was Marcus. He jumped off the top of the mountain carrying a moon-shaped flower.
My alpha? I was just, screw it. This wench is misleading you. All she wants is the position of Luna. She doesn't love you like I do.
Shiraz pleaded.
Enough of this madness, Shiraz. I don't love you that way. You're my family. I care about you, but I can never look at you sexually. You're just not my type.
Marcus stated as he got closer to the two of us. Shiraz lets go of me and attacks Marcus. What do you mean I'm not your type? After all I did, all I sacrificed. She grabs Marcus by the neck and the two of them struggle.
Marcus drops the grass on the ground and I quickly crawl towards it.
Let me go, Shiraz.
I don't want to fight you.
Marcus said.
I don't either, but I won't let you be with that temptress. It's either you choose me, or we both die. Shiraz was about to throw both herself and Marcus off the cliff. I shoved the flower down my throat and quickly felt my strength return. I immediately rushed toward Shiraz and tackled her off the cliff. The only thought in my head was saving Marcus. Aha! We both screamed as we were falling, but then Marcus transformed into a wolf and grabbed my backpack with his teeth. I quickly grabbed Shiraz by her hand as we dangled off the cliff. Shiraz, let's stop all of this. Nobody has to die here.
I screamed at her. Shiraz shook her head.
I don't want to live in a world where you two get together. I'd rather die. She scratched my hand with her claws, freeing herself from my grip. Shiraz! I scream as she falls down the cliff into the cavern below. It was a fall of certain death. Marcus pulls me up and we both embrace each other. It's not your fault. I just couldn't make her understand. I couldn't help but cry. Why did it have to end? Life is precious, and one should never throw away there so easily.
Marcus, I love you.
I couldn't say it before because I was unsure of myself, but see if it could end in the blink of an eye. I want you to know my true feelings before anything like that happens.
I said confidently.
I love you too, Samantha. I always have, and I always will.
Marcus said to me before kissing me deeply. We returned to the pack and relay what had happened to Shiraz.
It was sad, but we all had to live with that. Marcus and I would later go on to have children, and I was sure to teach them never to take life for granted.
Show the people you care about your true feelings before you lose the chance to entirely.
The end. Did you enjoy the story? Kindly leave your review in the comments and subscribe for more interesting stories. Lots of love.